Very much, Alaskan Court. Minister, back to the same by and large the same subject again. I think the importance of TAMS is illustrated by your statement earlier that 3,000 applications have been received under tranche 2. And again, I would appeal for the timeline to be met as much as is possible, because when farmers plan to invest, they need to be given every possible assistance. And Minister, just with regard to the dribble bar, I remember one of the other points that farmers made to me in my own territory was that apart from the costs, and there might be some argument about the better result from the other machinery, is the land is not fit to carry the machinery that's not dribble bar, or so the heavier machinery is not suitable for some of that land. Thank you, Alaskan Court.
Yeah, thanks, Deputy Smith. So listen, yeah, in relation to the dribble bar, that's something I will be considering in the mix as well. Obviously, you have the emissions aspect of it, but also you have the usability of it, and taking that into account is something that I'll be considering in the round as well. In relation to the timelines, as you know, first of all, we have a budget of €370 million over the period from this year to 2027, and tranche 1 of TAMS 3 closed on the 30th of June past, and there was 8,200 applications received. Overall, the scheme has proved very popular, and that unprecedented level of applications received was almost 4 times the average number received per tranche under TAMS 2. So there's 4 times the applications in this first tranche here now under TAMS 3 as there had been under any tranche in the previous TAMS scheme. The Solar Capital Investment Scheme opened for applications back in February, with the remaining 10 measures opening on a phased basis after that. And the final measure was the Women Farmers Capital Investment Scheme that opened for applications in June just passed, and that's a new category with 60% grant aid to encourage and address the imbalance we see at farm gate level in relation to the number of female farmers and herd owners and farm owners. Tranche 2 then of TAMS 3 will be closing now, and this is a decision I made yesterday. Tranche 2 of TAMS 3 will be closing on this Friday, tomorrow at 5 p.m. And then tranche 3 of the scheme will open next Monday, and it will run until the 12th of April. And it will close on that Friday, the 12th of April. And that will ensure that applications received since the current tranche opened back in July, that they can now start to be proceeded with as efficiently as possible. That's why I closed it in the next couple of days, so we can get on with processing those and ensure that those also within that tranche that need work to be carried out in a timely manner next year, that they can be processed and included, and also including by according them necessary priority where they need that to be able to get on with their work. Applications received across all measures in tranche 1 are currently being processed, and once that initial processing is complete, all applications are subject to rank will then actually be informed. And I published the schedule by which each category will get their approvals yesterday as well in the comprehensive statement I made on it, Deputy Smith.
Thank you very much, Minister. Just with regard to, unfortunately, both the public service and the private provider have all been hit by rising costs over the past number of years, particularly since Mr. Putin's evil war against Ukraine was launched. Is the reference costs in regard to the scheme and the investment, now, an area, it's outside your own remit, Minister, but there's a lot of concern with farmers in regard to the revenue changes and the interpretation of rules that was recently introduced by revenue. That's literally causing farmers additional costs, because in some instances where they'd hoped to be able to get a VAT reclaim on milk bulk tanks, slurry scrapers or milking equipment, that VAT reclaim is no longer available. So, Minister, it's very, very important that the costs in regard to investment, that they're up to date with the reality of providing that investment and the costs involved. Unfortunately, we know there has been an escalation in costs across all sectors, and the farming community and building and construction, unfortunately, is not immune from those rising costs.
The rising costs have been a real issue over the last number of years, and there has been adjustments at different points to change the reference cost for TAMS. So, listen, thankfully, I think generally over the last number of months, we've seen an easing of inflation in construction and machinery and in materials. It was unprecedentedly. It saw unprecedented increases in the year to 18 months before that. So we continue to monitor that and adjust it at phase basis as we go forward identified between different tranches. Deputy Smith, you're also raising the issue there in relation to the VAT reclaimable VAT for mobile equipment. And listen, that's a matter for revenue to interpret, but it is an important issue for farmers as well. It's an important issue in relation to them making their investment decision, and I certainly have made my staff available to revenue to be helpful in any way we can in relation to providing technical information around that. But it's an important issue, I accept. But it's one that's outside of my remit and is within the remit of revenue.
Dr. Smith.
Thank you very much, Minister. I sincerely hope that revenue revisit that very important matter. Minister, I'm not just clear, is there still a young farmer and women farmers cohort within the application process? Because it's very important that those particular cohorts within the overall farming community are supported as well. And Minister, has the department, or will the department issue detailed data in regard to what's necessary to get a priority classification? Thank you.
Yes, there is the young farmer categorisation, where a young farmer will get a 60% grant rate as opposed to 40% grant, which is the standard. And also, for the first time ever, I've included a female farmer category as well, whereby a female farmer can get a 60% grant rate as well, because we need to give a very definite message across the sector that we want to see women take their rightful place at the head of farms. And that's a real deliberate measure we've taken to try and encourage and facilitate that as well. In relation then to your final point, the prioritisation. Listen, we operated a system over the last couple of months where people that needed priority and came forward and could explain their need for it, that would be considered at local office level, and we would provide then the prioritisation to get their application expedited. We will take the same approach now this time for people that need to do it next year. I've outlined the timetable, so between now, the approvals have started, between now and next April, approvals will issue across all of the categories, and I think that will meet the needs of the vast majority of farmers. But for those who need more urgent approval, they can contact their local office and have it dealt with there.